This episode of Super GG Radio is brought to you by our Patreon. Patrons of the show can get our Dogs of Super GG Radio newsletter, Super GG Radio stickers to slap on your closest PC or bag, input on what we cover, game nights with the hosts, and even a chance to win a copy of an indie we talked about. Not only that, but 90% of all patron contributions go to the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. Visit patreon.com/superggradio to learn more.
What's good, Internet, and welcome to session 261 of Super GG Radio, where friends chat about video games and all things adjacent. Most weeks, I have no idea what's happening, and I just try my best to stay out of trouble. But this week, big exception. You know the phrase, when the dog's away, the cats will play? Well, I got some of the coolest cats around. Right? That's a saying, right? No.
It's the bee's knees.
It is a saying, but it's no longer cool.
Oh, I don't care if it's cool. I just wanted to make sure it made sense. All right. I'm your host and meowficent, just all-around guy of the podcast, Eric Getty Gettinger. With me this week is the cat knocking all of your stuff off the table, onto the floor, Joel DeWitte.
So like most things in my house, they just sort of appear without me noticing. And I considered tossing this whole big old thing of crayons on the floor. But fortunately, Kelly is kind enough to do the dishes right now. So you're going to hear plenty of like rustling and clanging sounds in the background. So special shout out to her guest podcast guest Kelly's dishes. So.
That's good. How much money would it take to get you to just sweep that onto the floor right now? Hypothetically, I'm not going to do it.
I feel like at least $5.
Now you're talking about copies of that game.
Yes.
Because it's going to be a currency one day.
Yes.
I mean, it's better than Bitcoin.
More stable.
Yeah.
At least stable right now. All right.
We're talking about currency versus speculative investment here.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Rounding out the crew this week, the most perfect dude around, Alec Parks.
Of course I'm perfect. I've been spending all day helping felines in Monster Hunter puzzles.
That came out today?
Yep.
And how much time have you put into it?
Probably about 4 hours.
Let's see here. Just do some quick math. It's like half of your day, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty aggressive strategy you've got there. This is going to make it onto the beat list. Can you beat that game?
I don't know. We'll see. It's puzzles, so
maybe.
No? Maybe.
I mean, can we define what beat would be for Alec in this game? Are there technically credits in this game?
Right. That's what we need.
That is how we define games. I would imagine no. But, okay. You'll have to report back. If nothing else, tell us how good it is.
I can definitely do that sometime.
Usually in the backlog, because we don't have time for anything else in early adopters. Yeah, let's jump into it. We're gonna keep it quick this week, right? Looking at the other guys.
Streamlined.
Oh, yeah.
Let's use some business speak.
Aerodynamic.
Yeah. Racing stripes.
Promote some synergy.
NOS. Hit that NOS button.
Are you Vin Diesel?
I can be
Family,
Vin Diesel
dude.
if you want me to be Vin Diesel.
I
couldn't do any worse.
I don't think I want you to be.
I don't think
Diesel.
he's quite old enough to be within like the fighting range. We gotta give it about 10 years or so.
What about his twin brother? Would you fight Vin Diesel's twin brother?
That just seems like less fun. There's less pedigree to like his twin brother that nobody knows.
But it's his twin brother, so they are identical.
Are they identical or are they fraternal?
I'm I don't know
That's
now.
a great question, Alex.
I just know he has a twin brother. Now, Google...
I had no idea. I'm just learning this.
You didn't? You know what the fun thing is? Friend of the podcast. I like to imagine he's a friend of the podcast. Stephen Dvorak. He had the... was it 25th anniversary, commemorative edition, something of Dungeons and Dragons? Is 25? That sound right?
That sounds right.
We're closing in on 40, right? Something like that. Anyway, it had a foreword by Vin Diesel, and he was talking about how his twin brother would play all the time.
Huh.
That's the only reason.
That's the funniest little factoid about Vin Diesel is that he's just a big nerd.
I mean, all right. He has fraternal twin brother, but you could still beat him up.
For the warm up, okay, we'll do the warm up for that.
Oh my, I don't know, man. I think he's getting up there in years. What's your cutoff for beating up celebrities?
How old do you have to be to get AARP?
50?
Too young. Social Security? That's 67 at this point.
It's 67,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with Social Security and we'll scale.
Okay, because he's on the cusp now. So
okay.
If
So
you're gonna fight somebody,
I've got some training prep time then at least. I
Yeah.
can prepare myself. Got it.
Okay,
All right.
now getting back to
this.
the meat and potatoes of the podcast. I didn't even do the intro here. I got so distracted with thinking about you fighting somebody. All right, this week we are going to have a nice short one. Oops. So everybody can get back to their families and think about all of the awful things that they've done. But really, early adopters this week. It's action-packed. We're going to trample the hopes of the nation in the news. I don't know why I said that, but sure. And then Joel apologizes for something terrible that he said to Donald Sutherland in the backlog.
Don't bury the lead.
Yeah. Well, early adopters?
Sure, why not?
Early adopters, where we play alphas, betas, and games. Jack, rip that door. Now, obviously, because I subjected everybody to playing Gears of War all those years ago for video game homework, I am referring to a game that we played called Tactical Breach Wizard. Tactical Breach Wizard. And Jack,
I just want to say I've come to really appreciate games where the characters have nondescript blank faces. Mm-hmm. And there's no visual movement on the face. It's just all physical expressions with moving their bodies and hands around. It's just fun. I liked that.
Yeah. So we're breaching doors here, and that's why I referenced Jack from Gears of War. You guys like XCOM?
XCOM is a blast.
I mess with XCOM from time to time.
Did you play Chimera Squad?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope.
So if you had played it's a standalone expansion to XCOM, that is probably as close to Tactical Breach Wizard as you're going to get. So the premise is that it is a grid-based, turn-based tactics game. Each one of the areas starts with you breaching a door. But I want to say that some of my favorite parts are the interactions that the characters have before you even get into the combat. The dialogue in this was so funny, if not just the choices were entertaining. You can play the characters, you can play with them a little bit, but definitely gives you an opportunity to have fun with something that's a little bit more serious.
I love the setup of it, because you're right. Every time you approach a door and they're about to breach it, you have that sort of back and forth between you and your partner, and they always give you a great option just to be a complete smartass.
Yes.
You know, and it. How do you avoid being the smartass in a one like this? If I were a wizard with the power to rewind time, I would always be the smartass and see where it led. And then if it messed up, rewind, start over. Now we know the right. It's like those choose your own story books where you put your thumb in the spot where the page was and be like, okay, I'm going to choose this door. Oh, the genie killed me. Okay, well, that's wrong. Go back and try page 125 instead.
Those were
always
rigged.
Choose page 125.
Those were rigged. They had so many bad endings with so few good endings.
But it's the story along the way that, no,
that just feels like life, Alec.
Yeah. You're not going to win this one. There's bad endings for that reason. But Tactical Breach Wizard, the characters each have their own hook. The two that you're introduced to, one of them can control time. The other one can have premonitions. I really appreciate the wizard that could have premonitions and he would tell you what was going to be in the next room. Mm-hmm. Especially like tree. There's a tree in a ghillie suit.
A ghillie suit.
Like, why? Isn't he
I
already
don't know.
a tree?
Maybe he wanted to be a sniper.
It's a misdirection. That's what it is. But that's just some of the fun that you have. Now, once you breach the door, then you're given the options to move around, taking different actions, trying to... the key to it is knock people out windows. And one of the characters even alludes to that in a later scene, is just, I always try and throw people out the window. There's no windows in this room.
Got nothing.
Forgot everything I knew. All right. But the abilities that you can use make you so you can vary gameplay. Now, because it's a demo, the sampling is pretty small. You don't really get too many opportunities until you clear, I'll say it's the second level, and then it gives you an option to like pop skill points into different trees.
Right.
That's about where I cut it off because I was like, I will definitely play this game.
I wishlisted at that point too. This is one of those experiences where that's enough of a flavor for what you're going to get out of it, because the setup is so straightforward. It is like it's a mission, but each piece of the mission is just a separate room chained together. So even the first example, it was like you were going aboard a ship, and you were going through different stages of the ship, and it's compartmentalized in such a great way. And that rewind feature makes it to where you never really have to get a game over per se. It's like you get stuck in a corner, you just hit that back until you feel like you're in the spot where you can branch off and make the right choices. And that's really awesome. I feel like a lot of these games should really think more about that if they aren't already, just from an approachability standpoint. It levels the playing field for somebody like me who is very trial and error with this kind of stuff, but doesn't have the patience to get to the full game over and wait for the restart. Mm-hmm. Really good stuff.
Alex, it's safe scumming without the effort.
Yeah. It's a good way to look at it. I don't know if I like the use of that phrase because it is in the game. Like, it is a mechanic that you can use.
It's auto scum.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Super GG Radio. Auto scum. That's what we are.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Where's Alex? I thought he's always got his t-shirt. And now he can have this one. Yeah, Alec, did you have a strong feeling towards it? I know that games like XCOM can be demotivating, but I think this one was a little bit nicer, just overall.
Oh, it was absolutely nicer. It was contained because, you only had the 2 units to worry about that you were controlling, so you weren't losing focus on any one character. I played through the police department and then I wishlisted it. It was fantastic.
So we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I know it's not a unique story hook, but I do appreciate that you're like Private Eye's magicians working with the boring, mundane police department. So you're the ones working outside the law, and The whole like necromancy, magical spells kind of stuff is a nice wrinkle. And going back to the writing, like it's. I hadn't gone through like a couple sentences of dialogue without at least cracking a smile. Like it's clever, it's fun, it's not over the top. Because sometimes these games are a little try hard, when they try to do their snark humor. But I really feel like it balances that out well, and I think it's because of that stuff that it makes it feel a little more than just sort of your boilerplate tactical not RPG. That's not tactics game. Let's just call it.
It's a tactics, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's fun. Definitely check it out. Even if you're not a fan, per se, of this type of game, it's still worth a shot. I think that, again, there's a lot of charm in the characters and in the humor. Maybe it'll appeal to even if it's not your favorite genre of game. Now, we did play something else this week, and I guess we have to talk about it. But it is a far cry. We went from something self-contained, very just straightforward, to just ratchet and crank. It's basically the comparison I'm going to make. We played Akimbot. And this, again, I don't have any other way to describe it. It's ratchet and crank. Crank. There we go.
Nope, Clank.
Clank? Oh.
I think it's Clank.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it's Clank.
Yeah. I played 30 minutes of a Ratchet and Clank game before. But that's exactly what this evokes. It's a 3D action platformer. It is you, a humanoid robot, paired with a very high-pitched, squealy assist bot, more like friend-ish kind of thing. And you are running, dodging, slashing, and then you get guns and start shooting. And you're traveling through these fairly open spaces. Like there's a clear direction of where you want to go, but you start off in this kind of islandish kind of area with different sections of land and bridges and stuff. And it's not direct though. It's just you can sort of walk outside the bounds of it. But if you fall in the water, you get hurt and die. They've got these electromagnetic area, like what do you want to call them? Like towers that shoot electromagnetic pulses.
Yeah,
or something.
I hated those things.
That it was rough. It was real rough.
They were just. I didn't understand the purpose of them. Like they try and. Alec,
I think they were trying to get you to use the dash, but your dash wasn't long enough to get through them before they pulsed. You were gonna take damage.
Yeah, it did sort of. It dated you off a little bit. It slowed down the pace in a little bit. That maybe felt a little bit too prohibitive, and something that you really want to feel like you're making momentum throughout. Because this game makes you want to feel like you're within this action-packed area, right? And to sort of put you at a standstill here and there kind of breaks up the speed a little bit. That said, this demo was pretty varied in what they ended up having you do. You had some of the exploration. You go through some towns areas with other robots. I absolutely killed the villagers.
What? Why?
Well, I did it on accident at first, but then I just couldn't stop myself. I was like, I'm already here. I might as well finish the job.
I didn't
Bad
kill
guy.
any. Yeah, I didn't
If you
kill any
leave survivors, one of them will come back for revenge.
I don't know. No, I don't think that's how that works at all. But did you get anything?
That's what Mortal Kombat taught me.
That's what Kill Bill says.
Guys, first of all, you can't just go around killing people. I mean, if you killed one, I guess I understand that somebody's going to come back for you. But maybe try not killing anybody, and then nobody comes to kill you later on. All right, John Wick?
Are they really people? They're robots. Like,
yeah, I didn't realize that you weren't supposed to kill them until after I'd already down a couple.
What did you get from killing them?
Nothing.
I cleared the screen, which felt nice. It was some nice, like, you know what? I like a clean room, okay? I like a clean, organized room. They were clutter. I had to clear the clutter, and I'm guilt-free because they're robots.
Okay, so I killed none of the villagers, And I did spend quite a couple of minutes at the DJ booth.
Dance party.
Dance party, yeah.
The 404 bar or whatever it was.
And your character does his like little dance. Not really too much, but just like, little hand movements. Little nodding.
He's too cool to do anything else. He's a very standoffish kind of jerky kind of character.
Yeah, I feel like
his
it was kind of
voice
cliche.
did sound familiar, though.
Did you use the Google machine to figure out who it is?
I did not. I should.
We should get you to use Google.
There was a fun piece of it, too, where you have to hack stuff at times. And in this level, most of the hacking was you'd find these boats that would be the carrier to the next section. They'd have a hacking terminal. But it's not just one hacking game. It's a mixture of different things. So one might be just a pattern of hit which button at this time. There's ones where you have to move the cursor and hit A in succession. There's a snake game version.
I did not understand what was going on with the snake game.
I lost my first snake game.
Yeah, because I was watching it, waiting for it to do something, and it wasn't explicitly clear that, hey, this is a snake game.
And also, you're supposed to run over these things, which feels weird because I'm not used to running over stuff in snake. Well, I guess you're supposed to pick up pellets in that. I did not have a Nokia phone, so I don't have the familiarity with the snake games as much as other people.
That cuts deep.
It's for all you millennials there. You're welcome. What other things did they had? Oh, they had like the shell game, like the three shell game where you put one face down, they spin them all around, and you pick the one if you track it right with your eyes. So.
And what happens if you don't do it successfully?
They kick you out, and I think you did a bit of damage, right?
A little bit of damage.
Yeah. Nothing too punitive, so I appreciate that. But, yeah.
I went through 3 or 4 different hacks before I even realized that there were different ones that could show up.
Mm-hmm.
So the luck was on my side, and I had the button mash every time.
All right.
There you go. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I don't mean to sound so minuscule about it, but like it felt a lot better once you did the guns in this game. Because the toolkit that you have before that is walking. There's no run. There is a dash, and there's a double jump.
You just double jump and dash around. That's the only way to travel.
Yeah. No,
the order goes
boring.
like this.
Why would you want to walk?
In games, if there's a dodge roll, you only dodge roll.
Correct.
We can all agree on that, right?
Yes.
And then after that, I prefer double jump, unless there's a dash, in which case it goes dodge roll, dash, double jump. All right?
Yep.
Is that the preferred list here?
Dodge,
where do we
roll,
put
dash, double jump?
What are you
Where
say?
do we put Ocarina of Time's side jumping?
You mean like when you're doing the
Z-lock.
The target Z-lock?
Yep.
That's not my preferred method of traversal.
I'm just technically faster than walking.
I'm just imagining a speedrunner playing Ocarina of Time where they're just doing the side jump to travel the whole thing. I wonder if that exists. There's got to be someone that's tried that. I value my life more than trying to speedrun Ocarina of Time with just side jumps. But you're right, Alec. There will be people that be min-maxing the sort of like, this is the optimal movement speed kind of thing. But I think I agree, Geddy. It's dash, roll, dash, double jump?
Yeah. Okay. If those are the available options. And I'll have some stuff to say about that in the backlog blog, because there's plenty of that going on in the game I played. But I 100% agree with you, Joel. Once you get guns, it changes the way that you play entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So there is hand-to-hand combat. You can do a couple of different moves. The one that I would rely on, it was a double jump and then attack, because you would like kind of dive bomb into an area. But the rifle, just that's all I used after that. I was like, I don't need to use anything else. I was hitting targets from the other side of the map while I was running. I was like, all right, I could play like this.
Yep. Yeah, and they do a decent enough job of your reticle if you are near the target, it'll sort of show you if you're close enough to hit it too. So it's not really a lot of desk work. As long as you get close-ish, it'll tell you when you're there. They had some fun platforming stuff where you had to shoot down flying platforms in order to open your path over. So that was a nice... I hope they continue to keep that kind of environmental actions using your weapons and toolkit to open up net spaces. I always appreciate that in this kind of game. And that final boss, that boss at the end, that was fun. So it was like a flying...
Yeah, he's just a flying drone.
Like a drone thing with a robot on it barking at you. And, it was, for the most part, it was just sort of a bullet sponge, but sometimes that's okay. Like that was just fun because it was dynamic enough. He was shooting at you enough to make you feel pressure. And then they had the wave where they switched it to the normal robot enemies and stuff. Yeah. And that's always a nice break because you go back to shooting them, or, if you're close... If you're close enough, that's where I would mix it up into going back to the dodges and the attacks and the dive bombs and stuff. You get into a good flow state when you're in that kind of environment, if you have that environmental awareness there. And the boss itself wasn't revolutionary or anything, but it was fun. It was foundationally strong. It was a fun boss, and it was just a nice end cap to the demo.
Yeah. I don't ever feel like I felt at risk of dying either. There was health
I died a couple
everywhere.
of times.
I died a few times. The only time I died a few times, both times I felt like it was a stupid mistake I made, like jumping off a cliff where I couldn't dip back up. There was one spot I felt pressure where it was that giant cannon shooting at you, where it would give you like a couple second warning before it started shooting off.
And then you had to find cover and wait for it to shoot 4 bolts.
But I mean,
but it
there
was a good.
plenty of cover.
It was a good. Right. It was a good kind of pressure where it was manageable. You didn't really. I never got to a point where I was near death, but it had that good sense of oppression on it that you want in that kind of environment. So, really effective. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this one was fun. I definitely wishlisted it as well. So, double wish list over here this week.
Solid games. Don't tell Alex.
Yeah, we can never
need
tell
credit.
Alex.
You don't want to let it get to his head.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here to get our gears straight. BRB, yo. Hey, this is the news with Super GG Radio. Now with, what? 100% less rumors? That's right. No Alex, no rumors this week.
There's a phrase, cutting the wheat from the chaff. We're all wheat, no chaff this week.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Just
Why
let
do
it
I
sit
keep
there
thinking
for a
chafe now?
Because you don't work in the agriculture industry, Daddy. That's why.
That's not fair, because I have customers that work in the agricultural industry.
And we're all very mad at you.
Are you?
I don't
You guys don't even ship with us. All right. Anyway. We got news. I am going to read the news now. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster announced. Is anybody going to play this?
No.
Is this already on Game Pass? Not
did
like the
anybody-
remaster, but is the original version on Game Pass?
I believe the original.
This is an Xbox game, right?
It was, yes, originally.
Yeah, probably not. I'll be honest. Like, I think it's such a cool idea for a game. It was very cool in high school when I had a friend who had it, and I would go over and play it just long enough to be swarmed by zombies, and then put on the head of the servo bot or whatever from Mega Man.
Yes.
Lots of fun. I don't like the structure of that game. That's my problem with that game.
There's a lot
That
of...
was the one where you were trapped in the mall, right?
Yes. And there's a active timer that is counting down, and there's objectives that you have to complete within a time limit to get the next story beat because you're a reporter.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I liked the idea of the game, but if you really have to stay at it, and you can't deviate too much if you want to get really a good ending. And sometimes it requires for you to run across the entire mall in the middle of the night and the zombies become more aggressive. It's a fun game, don't get me wrong, but it would have to do a lot in order for me to come back to it.
What if they had a free play mode? Where it was like to remove the timer, just respawning swarms of zombies throughout, lots more ways to just kill and mow them down. Just like it's like GTA when you're not trying to complete the objectives and you're just trying to increase your star rating.
I feel like that might have been in one of the re-releases of it. Because
Really?
in some capacity. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, I think you're right.
I don't know. I would want to go back and eventually get a good ending from it, but it's a lot of work. I'm old. I'm tired. That's
It's a
not
young
true.
man's game.
That's not true at all. I would probably do it. I just am not. I'm not that motivated. It's good news. It looks like it's a lot of good news for Capcom this week, but this doesn't really tickle my fancy right now.
We'll see
Oh,
once
well.
it gets closer to release. You might have a change of heart, but this is definitely something that I would look, see it's on Game Pass, say cool, and then I would proceed to play something else. So.
I was gonna say that's fair because if you're like, oh, look at that, oh, or maybe install it, play it for 15 minutes, get through the helicopter scene, and then be like, okay, I'm
No,
good.
it would be even worse. I would install it. It would sit on my Xbox for 2 months, and then in fridge cleaning, I'd be like, "Come on, I'm never gonna play this," and then get rid of it. So
And then install something else.
correct.
Okay.
It's a cycle. I've got a problem, Daddy.
I just want you to actively install it, hover over it, and then go, nah, and open Vampire Survivors.
Okay, deal.
You could do that? Okay.
I'll see if I can record it. Yeah, we'll make a record of it too. That's good. That's good.
All right. Next piece of news. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 original version released on PC through GOG. This is just a fancy way of saying tank control Resident Evil still exists.
My real question is, when we say original versions, do we mean the PlayStation 1 versions?
It's got to be.
Or is it the PC versions? Because I assume there were PC ports at some point.
It's got to be the PC port.
You think so?
How else would they let it run? It's not like they're doing
Emulation.
Yeah.
That's
Only
always
one way to find out.
That's always an interesting one to me, because I remember back then, not that it doesn't happen now, but I remember that the PC ports were very hit or miss in terms of quality and performance back then. So I'd be really curious. Not curious enough to buy it. Very curious. Anyways, we played the best way to play Resident Evil 1 already. So...
But what about 2 and 3?
We don't need to play those games.
I think I'm pretty sure I've got the remake of those in my Steam. Yeah, there was some sort of Humble Bundle that had all of them. So they're sitting there taunting me. So no. God already got my money with Blood Omen, which I haven't started yet. So they don't need any more of my money right now.
These are the PC versions.
There you go.
I'm looking at it and it's like, these are even better than the PlayStation version. So, it only means one thing. All right. We've settled that. Now we can go back to real news. Sure. This piece of news is for... I don't personally feel targeted by it, but maybe you guys do. Official report shows that Steam users have spent over 19 billion on games that they never played. This has no currency, so I'm going to say dollars. $19 billion.
I would say this is a self-dunk on Alex if he were here to admit to it, because he is the shameful one out of all of us for that.
He does have the most money spent on Steam.
He does.
So
I would also ask how they're quantifying this. Are they going by retail price of all this stuff, or are they going by the price that people spent on it? Because my Steam library is probably worth thousands more than what I actually spent on it, right?
Well, no, it's useless because you can't resell your digital content.
And you can't even give it away if you die.
Yeah, no
now,
joke.
I am going to argue that fact. I'm going to leave Alex my Steam account in my will.
With your passwords in a safe contained envelope that only he can open.
I mean, he can just give it to somebody, but I don't... I'll make sure that the credit cards are expired by that point, I guess.
Talk to your lawyer and...
Like, what are you going to do? People hack accounts all the time, right?
I bequeath you my estate, which is just my Steam account with $30,000 worth of 20-year-old games you don't want to play.
Maybe somebody will want to play them someday, but nobody's playing those games right now, right?
At some point you just have to give up on the idea of playing all the things you bought. And then just feel bad about all the money you've spent on things you'll never enjoy.
I don't know. I think I can do it.
There was a little while.
Yeah, I think you could do it. I have faith in you, Daddy. You're the powerhouse of the podcast. I'm thinking, like, how early do I need to retire in order to have the time to cut through that? It's like, that's not going to happen anyways. Why do I even worry about it?
Right. No, it's a big commitment. And again, we already referenced it earlier in the podcast, but games, you can get them cheap.
Exactly. Like, it is at the point where your time is more valuable than what you pay for it. So that is the nice thing about it now, is that you can spend 30 minutes and go, okay, yeah, not for me. I'll move on. Uninstall.
Yep. And then come back to it 2 years later.
Yeah, I'll reinstall it again. You know, just, it's like, oh, shit, I should have played Dead Rising. I guess I'll reinstall it.
Someday. Speaking of old things, I don't know how that really works, but Street Fighter film, the original, still making money 30 years later. And this says a few $100,000 a year per what Capcom is telling us. Would Capcom lie to us?
It was an investors or shareholders meeting, so I don't think they can.
Okay. That's
or
impressive,
at least
though.
They're limited in what bounds that they're allowed to lie in a shareholder
Right,
meeting.
because they said that it made hundreds of thousands of yen a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yen. So that's even less money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You got to divide that number by 100.
I saw somebody do or it was millions of yen. So somebody did a comparison for a conversion, and it was like between as little as $67,000 a year up to $500,000 a year.
Okay.
I mean, have you guys seen that movie?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Many times.
Raul Julia is fantastic.
I know that one quote from him, which is a really awesome quote of any character that I've heard, but like I've never seen it outside of clips of. Is Jackie Chan in that movie? Am I remembering that right? No.
I do not believe that he is. No, there's no way, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was not.
Okay.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was.
Okay.
Yeah, there were actually a pretty good amount of actors in that movie. I'll double check right now, but you've really never seen it?
No, sir. Of all the video game movies I ran across, and it's funny because Street Fighter is like one of my favorite games growing up, but it was just never down to my purview. Somehow I was able to slip in Mortal Kombat under my parents' supervision somehow. But that, no, it got past me.
Okay. Yeah, there's a surprising amount of people, like actual names that I recognize.
Yeah.
People that still act Ming Na Wen.
Okay.
was
She's
surprising.
been in quite a bit recently, too. I remember from The Mandalorian, last year?
That she was Mulan, right?
She did the voice of Mulan.
Yes.
In
That she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
I remember. We watched that for a while. I like her.
You probably dipped off when it was still good, right? I watched it all.
When
I hate myself.
When do you define the drop-off point of that show? We'll figure out.
End of
Episode
season
2.
1.
Really?
I said end of season 1. Season 2 was and then after that it was just like, well, I guess we're no longer connected with the MCU. And I was like, yeah, none of this makes sense.
That is
Fantastic.
the inverse experience I had, because the first season was a sort of like monster or enemy of the week kind of thing, right?
Which was kind of fun.
And it was okay, but like then it got into trying to do some actual like longer arc narrative storytelling stuff. They got to the point where it was the Stoll guy. What's his name?
Ghost
Red
Rider.
Skull.
They got to Ghost
Oh.
Rider, and that was sort of where we started tapering off.
Yeah. A lot of it
kind of like
became
the
nonsensical.
Darkhold.
Yeah.
Nonsensical.
It was entertaining enough, and I didn't care enough about it being tied to the MCU for it to mean anything to me. So,
And then they were like, hey, let's, never mind. I'm done with it.
They did some weird VR kind of thing, or like alternate reality
Yes.
thing, right? It was real dumb.
Yes.
It was real dumb.
So anyway, go watch Street Fighter.
I'll think about it.
Report back.
I'll install it on my Xbox. How about that?
Hey, do what you need to do.
You should live tweet it.
The whole thing. He does. I thought that Joel didn't have Twitter after what he said to Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, no, that's not true. You can say just about anything on Twitter now, and you won't get in trouble.
Yeah, but I think you
Why-
actively
while-
deleted it.
I have access to a Twitter account.
Great.
So our brand can go places if you'd like to.
I need more air quotes in that sentence.
Our?
Yes. Yes, that's the
Okay.
one. All right.
Okay.
We're running through these. Xbox games will soon be playable via your Amazon Fire TV stick. Okay.
This goes back to what we said before. You know, that's the only way forward for Microsoft, is having Game Pass on whatever the hell they can get it on. Otherwise, they're stuck because their consoles aren't selling. Not even nearly what they need to get that kind of market penetration. So, not surprising by that. I've heard some TVs have it already, but they need to have it broad strokes everywhere if they want this to work.
Right. Yeah.
So, makes sense.
Didn't Google try this?
We don't talk about the Stadia.
We don't talk about Stadia.
The Stadia Arcadia.
There's a difference. You see, Google never sticks with something for more than a year if it's not Gmail or Google search. So, and that was my mistake. That was my mistake in assuming that this time it would be different. Like a battered housewife, I made that mistake.
Whoa! Whoa! Joel,
I swear, they've changed.
I'm moving on. I'm going to take us out of here, okay? Okay?
All right.
Everybody's okay
Yes,
with
please.
that? Okay.
All right. I got it out of my system. It's okay.
All right.
It's okay.
This is a smidge too far. This is just a smidge.
Oh, you're no fun. That's fine.
That was rough, man.
Really?
It was real rough.
That was rough. I'm just saying there's reality in some of these situations.
There is.
They're not pleasant realities,
I'm
but I
not
can make
arguing that.
analogies that make sense.
Okay.
Just saying.
Anyway,
All
Just
right.
saying.
so what's next?
You will
I-
never guess Wordle's terrible, hilarious original name.
Yes, this is Joel's piece of news.
So, The Verge decided to write about 700 or 800 words in an article to describe that Wordle was not the creator's original name. So for fun,
Surprise.
I thought maybe I would give each of you 3 chances in order to try to guess what it is.
And we just take turns, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'll go first. How about word guess?
No. Uncreative.
Wordify.
Uncreative. Not creative enough.
Which one?
Both of you.
Alex? Oh, not creative enough?
Not creative enough. No.
Wordgasm?
Not yet, but you're getting closer. Don't
Okay.
think so explicit though. Like not
Okay.
quite that arena. Think more like
Oh, I got my third one. Don't
you
worry.
got to think like a little more Gen Z, lingo-ish kind of stuff. Internet.
Is it the Whizzle?
No, but I liked that.
All right, my last one.
Uh,
Wordsplosion.
I wish it was that. That's good.
All right.
Word salad? I don't know.
Okay, so according to this article, the name was originally Mr. Bud's Wordy Nugz. Nugz.
No. Is it okay if I just turn off my camera and leave the podcast? That is so bad. Oh, I need a shower now.
Super GG Radio. I need a shower now.
Mr. Bug's Wordy Nugz. Ugh.
At least we know what the episode title is now.
All right.
So-
Steam has a couple of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
First one, Steam rolls out beta for native in-game recording. Because we're going to make a game, right?
Well, no, this would be great for doing beta breakdowns.
Is it?
Or recording
Maybe.
footage without me having to click a button to record footage, I guess.
I mean, Alex does that to you all the time, and you just don't know it.
Probably. I still don't want to know.
Yeah, just have cameras everywhere.
I still feel a little violated at that software he tried to record us all for our podcast that one week. Started recording without our permission.
This is the second time he did it to me.
That was pretty uncool of him. Not cool.
He's out there somewhere. He's going to listen to that, and he's going to make us do it again. Other Steam news. A Steam controller is coming, but it's not made by Valve.
It's made by Hori. The short and long of it, thanks for the news, Alex. It looks like a Pro controller from like the Switch or an Xbox controller. It's a little more rectangular, but it has like native Steam buttons on it that I assume interface with Steam big picture mode type stuff. So
Gotta be.
I'm sure it works I'm sure it'll work very well.
Look at those colors, too.
Yeah, I like that green. That purple's not bad either, actually.
They pop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it looks a little long. Like your hands are going to be just out of comfort holding it.
No. I think it's about the right size. It's also so that all those buttons in the middle, I don't think you necessarily need to be able to click them.
I think it's more about the spacing from the end to the sticks and the face buttons, like the A, B, X, Ys, and the triggers. Mm-hmm. So if they got that spacing okay, I think it'll be okay. Just reminds me of like the PlayStation 5 controller is a little long too, comparably, if I remember right. So we'll see.
Like the triggers on the back. Yep, it's a nice controller.
Yeah, it does look nice. You are welcome to get one and tell me how it feels. So, Alex probably will. Alex will probably get one.
It is only going to be $50, so
That's not bad.
yeah, especially considering how many Xbox controllers I've had to replace here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's time to get another Steam controller. That first one was a travesty.
The one with like
Okay.
the trackpad things instead of I still got that here somewhere.
Yeah, I
really
still have it.
I should just recital it.
You got to do something with it. It's not doing anything.
Nobody wants it
either. Nobody, not even me. All right, we got some freebies now. Who's ready for freebies?
Freebies.
Freebies.
For freebies.
How much do those bees cost?
$3.99.
Nice.
All right. Does anybody want to help me with these, or am I gonna do it?
I'll
like a crazy person.
I'll sure try.
All right. I'm gonna take the first two, and then if you can check the next two.
Uh-huh.
All right. First one up. Shred Off. Shred Off is a third-person action snowboarding shooter. You can do stylish tricks in the Alaskan mountains while gunning down enemies with an arsenal of ranged weaponry. Yeah.
Nice. I did
You can
it.
compete with your friends for a high score. Maybe.
This looks very PlayStation 1-ish. Or something in between PlayStation 1 and 2. It's got that sort of chunky polygon look, that kind of fuzziness, but there's more detail than a PlayStation 1 game. A little more color, too. I did it.
All right. Next. Away from Home on Steam. It's a beautifully crafted 2D platformer. Gameplay is extremely fast-paced. Players need to control the character to escape hometown and travel to distant lands. Yes, it does say it just like that. It is a dot, and you just go across the screen. That is what I'm seeing. That is the game. Moving your dot across the screen to get somewhere. There's a lot of movement here. Okay. Next up, a buttload of free games on Steam.
I don't know why I agreed to take the last half. This is so weird, guys. It is a collection of over 100 completely free small games wrapped in the one convenient launcher. Slash slimes, shoot lemons, blow kisses, do art commissions, take blood, and so much more in these wacky, weird, and wild games. This is really, this seems, I don't think it's WarioWare, but it reminds me of WarioWare in the level of weird, except it's more so. I'm seeing clips of this one where it looks like it's a side scroller, except it's a dude walking, and then there's a guy in the background doing a wavy dance. It's so weird. Two black bears doing some sort of kickboxing match, and Plague Doctor seemingly bloodletting somebody to cure them. So we're in strange territory, guys, but it's free.
Nice.
The important question, though, is how many games does it count on the beat list?
I guess it depends on how many you can beat.
I'm going to say you lose beatless points by playing that.
Last game?
Yeah.
Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition over on the Epic Game Store.
All right, this is your sort of third-person action combat game. Think in terms of visually, it kind of reminds you a little bit of like Hi-Fi Rush, where it's the same kind of action, Bayonetta type stuff too, similar to that. Not that kind of rhythmic stuff, but it does have a lot of style and flair to it. I'm seeing some stuff that looks like Alice in Wonderland-ish, so it looks cool, very stylish. I think I'll get this one. Why not, for free?
All right.
Wait a minute.
Is there a fourth one in here? Like a Phantom one?
It's a sneak in because Alex has it listed as Geno Kids.
Okay, so
was the link for Sunless Skies.
Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition is free on the Epic Games Store. I am not familiar with this game, but I'll pull it up.
All right, I found it. So the one that Joel just described was Geno Kids on Steam.
Yeah.
And I now have Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition. And this is, well, I'm just going to read the blurb and we'll figure it out. Sail the Stars, Betray Your Queen, Murder a Sun. Sunless Skies is a gothic horror roleplay game with a focus on exploration and exquisite storytelling.
I will say from the images and the video, it looks like you're pretty much just... Your character is the ship or the flying car. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any actual people. It looks like all the actions take place through dialogue options. So,
Yes.
interesting, nice style. That's all I got.
Pick your car. Okay. All right, that'll be it for this week's episode of News.
We're sorry.
Not the whole episode, but we're going to be right back after a quick word from our sponsors that we definitely have. And we're back. Back with the Backlog blog where we play games where Joel is definitely going to get beat up. Hey, Joel.
Hey,
why
Daddy.
are you trying to start fights with people?
You know, from a young age, I've had a chip on my shoulder. And I had an older brother, and like any good older brother, I got picked on relentlessly. And I just never recovered, so now I take it out on all the people I know. So,
Okay.
You know, if you want a reason why it's painful to be around me, now you know. This poor guy, Yeo, who is the developer of the Friends of Ringo Ishikawa, a game that early on in this podcast we played. And if I recall correctly, I enjoyed my time with it. It felt very akin to River City Ransom, except a lot of the sections... You know how, like, beat-em-ups will have usually, like, 2 to 3 guys to fight on screen, maybe? It'd be
Yes.
like a dozen people on screen you were fighting.
Well,
And
now, is that similar to Mr. Peppermint, which you played earlier this year?
there weren't as many people in that.
Really? I want to say that when we played the demo, there was a point where there were a dozen guys on screen.
but let me do a little
wailing on me.
comparison there. Number
Okay.
one, that was strictly 2D. Like, there
Okay.
was no plane up or down on it like your typical brawler is. Two, I always felt like that one was spaced out enough to where there might have been a lot of guys on screen, but they did that sort of action movie thing where they would all kind of just like sit and wait while you take on one or two at a time and
Okay.
keep things paced out.
Fair enough.
That first game I was challenged by it because one, I'm bad at video games, but number two, it was just so much on screen happening that I had trouble keeping up, and then there'd be like 3, 4, 5 guys just pummeling me and giving me no chance. So it was probably a skill issue. But that game was very Persona-like in that you were managing your time during the day, you were going to different places and relationship building, and it wore its inspiration on its sleeve. It did it fairly well. It just didn't connect with me because of those things.
Okay.
Fading Afternoon is made by the same developer, Yeo. As far as I know, they're not just an individual developer now. They've got a team going. And this one follows a character named Seiji Maruyama. And I'm going to apologize for the pronunciation of that. But comes out of prison, former Yakuza, and he reconnects with his mob boss and basically goes back into the business. You find out shortly that he is terminal with an illness. They show up by him coughing up blood one night in the hotel room. And basically you're on a limited time scale to try to achieve all this while you have deteriorating health throughout all of it.
Okay.
So the basic setup, it's kind of similar to Friends in that you spend your days going to different locales and taking actions to do things. Less relationship building aspect and more like there will be points of interest in these different areas. So one will be like, it'll have a baseball batting cage. One will have a massage parlor. One will have a like a karaoke bar. One will be a hospital, stuff like that. And beyond, so these different actions, it'll be like, okay, if your health is low, you can go to the hospital. They'll mend you up a little bit. There'll be a nurse that'll sort of chastise you for your dangerous lifestyle. She'll also act as an interstitial, like story beats, because eventually she'll bring up the diagnosis, and you'll have a bit of dialogue of like, okay, I know what's happening, just fix me up and let me go. The baseball, it's just a fun little batting mini game. So if you ever want to just chill out and do a little batting, some simple arcade batting, that's kind of fun. But these are little interstitial things to what is the main crux, which is you trying to take on the other rival games. And each marker on the map that are points of interest, they will also be owned by a rival turf. Okay?
Okay.
So you will, starting now, you'll have like 2 selections a day to go do things. To starting out, you're going by train, you're living in a hotel, you're sort of living pretty thin. Over time, if you did enough money, you can do things like buy a car, which will then let you go to lots of different places in one day. You can get apartments to live in, which will keep you off the streets, because if you don't pay for your hotel room, you will end up sleeping on a park bench.
Did you have to do that in the game?
Wow.
I didn't have to. It happened a few times before I realized what I was doing.
Okay.
But
fair.
But the systems at play there is that you've got a health bar that's like 999 total health, but you start with 500 health out of it. And as far as I can tell, I have not found a way to increase it. It just slowly decreases over time to coincide with that diagnosis, I think, that terminal sickness you have. So it's systemically trying to divvy that pressure along with just the story conceit of actual consequence to what you're doing. So when you get to the actual rival turf battles, you'll go into one of these locations, and they'll have thugs from that different rival gang. And if you engage with them, you like hold a button to engage into actual like combat mode, and then you just wallop them with a punch, and that's when things start. And you will have that kind of normal beat 'em up sensibility where you'll have 2 or 3 guys coming to you at a time. You'll have to fight them off, and then more waves will come. And then once you get through enough of the waves, assuming you survive, you will then have cleared that level. It doesn't mean you're always going to take over the rival turf when you do it that first time, but you will have completed the level, and then you can move on unscathed relatively. Whereas if you die there, you get sent to the hospital, you're worse for the wear, and then you sort of start on a lower amount of health the next time you go to these places. That's also the primary way you make money in this game, because for every person you beat up, you did about 16,000 yen, and more or less you want to engage those battles in order to build the money, to build up your empire, and to keep fleshing out the story a little bit, because part of it is that you're unlikely to beat the game the first time you play this. And I say that,
sounds like there's a lot of moving pieces, and you have a lot of systems that you have to get accustomed to.
Exactly. So, and whether you want to say it to its credit or detriment, they don't explain much about it at all. They plop you into it. They give you some of the basic combat instructions and sort of say, go explore, go figure it out. That's how I found myself sitting on a park bench for a week or 2 my first round, and I just crumpled over and died at some point. There was one time where I took on debt from an institution of ill repute, let's say, and I didn't pay them on time, and so they came up and shot me on the train.
Whoa.
And that was my game over that time. I found out from...
No warnings or anything? Like
No, it's shocking. Like I had no clue it was coming. It was just out of the blue. And then I found out from Trey at Nintendo Main that you can actually shoot yourself and end the game that way too. It's an option.
Wow.
And
of
course...
You remember when we were talking about bad endings before?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Here you go.
Hey, kids, you want a bad ending?
Yeah, here's any bad ending that you want. Jeez.
Counts as a beat list.
Does it?
It
Do you
is
get
on
credits?
It is on the list. I got credits. I'm counting it. That said, I am still playing it. Like
Okay.
I finished reviewing this a week or so ago. I gave it 8.5. A big part of why it's a great game is its combat. And the reason why I say that is that, number one, they learned their lesson a little bit about how much you want to crowd somebody with enemies. And so the pacing out of people to fight is a lot more reasonable. The only times I really saw a lot of a mess of fighting is that you have your own turf space that you start with at a bar. And there will be times where the other rival turfs will attack you. And if you show up there, there will be a group of your people, and then there will be a group of their people. And you'll need to sort of suss out who to fight in all this fervor. But in your normal stuff, it is like 2, 3, 4 at a time. Yes, they'll crowd you, but it's within the bounds of what you would expect from a beat 'em up. That said, the actual pieces of how you fight people, there's a punch, there's a kick, but if you hold the punch button, you are all of a sudden doing bobs and weaves and dodges. Okay? Well, you have to push directions while you're doing it, as far as I can tell, but it's really like Muhammad Ali, like bob and weave and dodging and stuff. Very action-y, because you end up comboing the stuff where you like dodge, you'll roundhouse kick one, maybe somebody comes next to you, you will grab and throw them down, and then if somebody else gets close to you, if you do the right button input, you will like snap an arm and then throw them to the side. Some people have swords, and then if you time it right with a parry kind of thing, you'll grab their sword, and then you can just start slicing people with it. And everything moves really seamless. Like that's probably one of the biggest things that makes this feel like such a good game, is that the animation from Ringo to this in the actual action is much improved. Like the animation, the art has developed in a way where everything feels fluid, where you feel more like a John Wick, you feel more like your action hero. It's really, really cool, and it's within this very uncomplicated couple button setup where, yes, you got like 2 or 3 buttons you're going to use, but it's the buttons plus the directional inputs plus the distance from you to the enemy, and once you get the right pieces and you start positioning yourself well, you can get in this really great flow state where you are just disposing of these people. And then you find people with bottles, and they just ruin your day.
So, at the same time, you still had to figure out how to do this, or did they give you a tutorial where you were able to figure out, like, this is what I need to do in order to start chaining combos and attacks? Or it was, like, through guesswork?
They give you the basic instructions.
Okay.
And to their credit, there is a menu where you can go and see actual...
Move your list.
It's not actual, like, combos, because really you're making your own combos in a way, but it'll give you, this is punch, this is kick. If you do this direction plus this button, when you're close enough to this guy, you'll take them down and be able to ground pound them.
Like a traditional move list in a game.
Yeah.
It's telling you, hey, this is what you can do.
Right. Now you
go figure it out.
Now you take those pieces and improvise.
Okay.
That's the kind of situation you're in.
So it sounds like it's kind of leaning into like a fighter then, and it's bringing it into your brawler.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it, and it feels really good. This game, the only critique I have about it is that the UI leaves something to be desired. It was not clear to me very often how you get to the right menu settings. There's more than a few times where I accidentally hit the leave game button or exit the game button.
Oh no!
It was left like on a trigger, so you would hit start, and I think you hit the R trigger on the Switch, and that takes you to the main menu. So I don't expect them to just. I don't expect them to like mimic everybody else, but some of the labeling of stuff was unclear when you get to those menu areas.
Okay.
So I think the UI
would really frustrate me if I was like, "Oh yeah, let's do," and then it just turns out, or you exit to the main menu, like, "No."
Yes.
So then, how's the saving function?
You'd probably lose your progress in that location you're in. So it wasn't like you killed too much progress each time, but it was
devastating.
It was one of those annoyances, right? And it's something that you don't notice it being a problem unless it's a problem. It's one of those things like you don't think about too much, right? You don't think about UI too much unless it's something that bugs you. Because the best UIs you won't think about. You'll just get through it and get to your game. So I would hope that if anything they take to heart, it's that in their next game they consider how they can make that a lot more straightforward and blunt for stupid people like me. And beyond that, like the biggest praise I can give to this thing is I've been done with reviewing this for 10 days now, and I still pick it up and play it because I want to see the things I missed. I know there's new things to explore. I know there's different endings to the game that I'd like to get to. There's things that are like out of reach right now, which are like nice penthouse apartments and speed cars and all sorts of other toys that I know you can figure out how to get, but I haven't figured out the infinite money machine in this game yet. So
I don't know that you will, but it sounds like you have to keep plucking away in order to get a little bit closer.
Right, and I could probably find a lot of these answers online at this point, but I've been trying to avoid that until I really feel like I need to tap out. But that said, if you got a little grit and you have a little patience and you're willing to look through some Steam forums for guidance, I think Fading Afternoon's a really great choice for somebody who's looking for a meatier beat-em-up experience.
Okay. It sounds like you did enjoy it, even though there was a bit of frustration. I think that speaks to how good the game is that you are going back and actively trying to get better at it so that you can see what you missed. And there's games like that. Mm-hmm. There's rogue games where, I mean, that was the only reason. I mean, it's probably not the only reason, but that was one of the reasons why I stuck it out through Deathloop, was just to see all of the goofy stuff that you could do in each of the areas. There's a set path that you have to complete in order to finish the game, but you could just have a lot of fun. And that's really great. Yeah. I'm glad that they were able to pivot and improve some of the systems that maybe weren't as good in the last game that they made. It's always good to see success like that.
One last thing.
Okay.
They still have
that's the next segment, so.
They got a dedicated smoking button.
You do?
You do. The original game, they call it delinquent mode, where you would hit a button,
yep.
You'd put a cigarette in his hand, and that was also the signifier. They're just like, okay, stuff's going to go down. We're going to brawl.
Stuff's happening.
But, dedicated smoking button. It hurts your health. Who cares? You look really cool doing it. In game, I do not endorse smoking in real life.
Important note.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on my game. I still have about half of it to go, but I'll just do a quick check-in here.
I am interested in this one, just because we played this as an early adopter, right?
We played the demo when it originally came out, so I've been making my way through Forspoken, and Forspoken is like an action. I don't want to call it a platformer, but there's a lot of stuff that you're climbing on, a lot of movements. It is Square Enix who had put this out, I want to say at the end of last year, maybe it was middle of last year or so. But the things that it does differently is, most of the Square Enix stuff is RPGs, and it is in a way, but it's more of an action RPG. And the character is this girl who is taken from New York City and dropped into like a fantasy world. And the best comparison I can give you is Alice in Wonderland. And there's things in the game that mirror Alice in Wonderland. Like, I was playing and Lisa walked into the room and there's cats. There's cats everywhere. And one of them just follows you around when you're not in combat. And he's floating and he'll go around and he'll pick up items for you. He reminds me of the Cheshire Cat. doesn't speak at all, but the way that he moves, and he'll like float upside down and do cool stuff if you stay stationary for long enough. But it's really the story of a land that is battered, bruised, it's facing desolation, and there's only one like real beacon town that still exists. And that town has enough problems of its own because it's split between like a poor district and a more well-off place. But following Frey, that's the main character story, she was down on her luck when she got transported over. She finds this bracelet, this cuff. She calls him Cuff. And he'll have these goofy dialogues with her trying to explain what he knows about the land, and at the same time them depending on each other for whatever's happening. But Frey has access through Cuff to do all kinds of crazy magical abilities. She starts out with earth magic, and then as you progress through the story, you unlock water and fire, is as far as I've gotten, and I'm about at the halfway point. But the way that they describe it is that there's 4 of these cintas that, or no, what are they called? No, I can't remember. I think Cinta's one of the characters, but there's these 4 matrons, we'll put it that way, who used to overlook the land, and they all went crazy. And that's when the disaster struck and the world started to end. And she's just been dropped in the middle of it, and she has the power to help all of these people, and at the same time she's trying to get home. So it makes for kind of a compelling story where she was having a bad time in her life in New York. She almost went to jail the day before her birthday, and then this happens to her. So the things that I really like about it, the traversal, the way that you can zoom just across the map, you can do different moves that will help propel you forward. Combat, where I'm at, it has become optional. I don't have to engage in every combat that comes along, but main story beats, usually it's like you have to battle your way through an area. And I like that because it gives me the opportunity to do exploration and not have to stop so much. And there is, as Alex would say, a lot of map vomit. Yeah. The matrons are called tantas. Okay. So the ones that I've ran into were Tanta Sila, Tanta Prav, and then I know of Tanta Sila. I already said that one. Cinta. But the names are very unique. And so, yeah. So I'm just map barfing around, collecting cats. So
the basic movement feels good then. Just
it is
traveling around the world.
Some of the best travel. You can fast travel, and the way that it's set up on the PlayStation 5, it's very quick to fast travel. Mm-hmm. But if it's something that's not too far away, I will opt to just run through and, pick up stuff on the way. Because I'm starting to hit the point where I can upgrade just about everything. Mm-hmm. And you feel real weak to start. And I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I've got my groove. I could probably do some of the harder things. But I don't have to do everything. And I like that. I want to focus on the things that I'm enjoying in the story.
Now, you mentioned you don't have to do combat anymore. It's been a while. Could you just provide a little more detail about the combat systems?
Yeah. So this is where it can get a little frustrating for people that aren't familiar or don't really like action games that have a lot of things going on. So in your basic combat, you can switch between the different kinds of magic that Frey can do. So right now I have 3 kinds of magics that I can switch between. But you have 2 attack buttons and then 1 super that you can build up the energy for and use. So usually one of them is just like a basic attack and one of them is a charged attack. So you can alternate, Frey's ability is to shoot rocks. So you can shoot rocks, and then one of her other abilities is that she could throw down a landmine. But she has 12 different abilities that just her magic set gives you. So basic attacks are limited. The other attacks, there's a ton, like the charge attack, there's a ton of them. And then if you really want to make it complicated, you can jump over to Sila's attacks. And then she's got fire magic. So you're doing like a fire sword, and then you can do like a drop kick and kick somebody, or you can move over to Prav's moveset, and I found out that there's like a water whirlwind that you can just drop on the ground, and it'll just capture things in it, and it'll damage them. So the enemies do have weaknesses, but if you stick with one of the movesets, you can still win, but you can switch and make it a faster combat.
It sounds like you're depriving yourself of the whole experience if you don't mix and match or try to dabble in the other elements. Does that sound fair?
It sure makes it easier.
Okay.
And then it further compounds it because you can unlock more abilities for each of the movesets, and then you can upgrade them by completing tasks, like shoot somebody and do 5,000 damage. You'll do it. It'll take a little bit of time, but it also upgrades your magic ability across the board. Or if you really want to specialize in one way, you can start to gather gear and feed into, that one type of magic.
Okay. All right.
But the story also has me hooked. So I want to know what happens. It's not a fun story. Most of the time I'm playing through and I'm feeling awful.
Really?
Because of your choices or the world?
Because of the world.
Okay.
Because it's like you quickly, like one of the first things that happens is that once you get to town, everybody's there like it's a witch. You're a witch. So you stand trial, somebody helps you escape, and then as you're exploring the town, as you're about to head out to try and do something in the world, you meet this little girl, and she helps you. She teaches you how to craft items. And then one of the first things that happens is that you get back to town, and one of the Tantas is going nuts. She kills the little girl.
Oh.
And then Frey's like, I did this. Like by me being here, by my actions, I caused this. So there's a lot of that going on. I mean, I see why people might think that the story's a little contrived or not great at times, but I'm enjoying it. I think that it's a different perspective. The character, she swears all the time, just constantly swears.
Well, it's a fish out of water kind of story, right? She's dumped into this fantastical world with these new powers or abilities she's coming to grips with, right?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So I know that's a well-trodden ground, but it's really all about how it's presented and how it's executed. So it sounds like you're enjoying it, at least, though.
Yeah, I'll see how the second half of it goes. Maybe I'll fall out of love with it, but so far I'm enjoying everything that I've seen. The world still has plenty more to offer. It's a lot. So if you're not ready for something like that, I would not recommend it. But if you feel brave enough and you feel like you can master the on-the-fly combat and just go with it, I mean, it's a blast. Maybe a little long for some of the people that we have here, but I mean, I'm at 30 hours. I'm halfway through. I feel like I'll finish strong. But I'm also doing as much as I can. I figure the developers always put so much into the games. If I'm not at least trying to see what it's like, or if I enjoy something a lot, then I'm going to try and see it through. So
there are a few things I regret about getting rid of my PS5, but one of the few ones is that I truly did want to try this game. Like it looks interesting. I like the way the combat played in the demo. Internet dumb backlash aside, like I liked what we played of it, and it looked like an interesting thing to. It looked like a unique experience. It felt like it's something different.
Let's be fair. The point where they drop you into it, I got to that part at the end of or over the last weekend, and I was like, now I can play so much better than I did when I was playing the demo and I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because you are introduced to all of these different moves and everything, but that was just like, all right, here's everything. It's like, it kind of reminds me of Sandland, because that was also like, well, here you go. And I imagine that the actual game, it's like, all right, now you've got this. Now you've got this. So
Hey,
mediocre.
Joel, if you're missing it, it's on sale on Steam right now for 60% off.
It's on Steam?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
It's not hard to get. It's
Is it
relatively
Steam Deck
inexpensive.
playable?
Maybe.
No, unsupported.
Ooh. You're dead to me.
I mean, that
Forspoken.
doesn't mean it doesn't work on Steam Deck. It just,
It would probably not be fun to play on Steam Deck.
yeah.
That's okay. I can hold on and we'll see where it goes.
Someday maybe,
Yeah.
but I'll find my way through this game. I'm again halfway through. So all right, one last thing.
Yeah.
Let's move on to
Yeah.
one last thing, and tonight's one last thing is brought to you by Game of the Year 2022 Elden Ring. Hey, you guys play that DLC yet?
I heard they nerfed the DLC.
They nerfed the DLC,
Yeah.
and I am having so much regret right now because I did not get it, and now I feel like I won't get to play it on hard
You
mode.
missed out on the full experience. The true Elden Ring experience.
I guess we'll just have to get Joel a copy and then live vicariously through him.
Through my pain. Is that what we're talking about?
It's not pain. It's a good game. It's Game of the Year 2022.
That's what
All
I
right.
keep hearing.
The fact that was 2.5 years ago is just wow.
It's a
Yeah.
good game.
That's not great.
Anyway, so Steam Summer Sale. I that's all I'm going to use my one last thing for. I went ahead and I purchased Fights in Tight Spaces, and I also got The Witcher 3 for $3 because
Why not?
why not?
Yeah.
It's $3. Like, even if I only play it for 70 hours, yeah, it's fine.
You said $3?
It's like
$4.
Is it $4? Is it $3.99?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's $3.99. Yep.
Oh,
Well, if we're going to go on the topic of Steam sales, my
hold
one
on.
last thing.
I gotta toss it over to Alex.
Come on.
Alex? No, he's not here. Okay, Joel.
I'll stay on the same theme. Wheel of Katamari was my Steam sale get, but now it sounds like Witcher 3 will be on that list too. So
Steam Deck verified.
That is going to be the best chance I have of actually playing through that. So, yeah.
Yes.
$4. I've wasted $4 on worse things. Sure, why not?
Care to tell us what those worst things were?
No, I don't care to tell you what those.
Okay,
things
good. Sounds great. Alec.
I have avoided purchasing during the summer sale. I know.
But
They're
you-
just
You still have
nothing grabbed me.
how many more days? It just started
Like a
today.
week. Yeah.
Do you-
I've got games on my wish list that are down to like $4, and I just don't know when I would actually play it and can't bring myself to do it.
July 11th. There's plenty of time to succumb to weakness. Oh, yeah. There's a good chance I'll probably become weak at least one more time. There's a lot on here.
There is so much.
A lot of
it's
wish
a big
listed
one.
games. A lot of stuff that we've beta tested.
I was looking through it, and actually, most of the stuff that I have on my wish list right now, it has no release date. So
Oh,
I was looking at.
that's because you just pruned.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was looking at Manabo for a minute there. Something about that game.
Manabo?
A Walk Through Life. You remember that one?
We play a lot. That
Sure do.
particular one, I don't think I remember it. Okay. I think that's it for the episode then, yeah?
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. And that'll be it for this week's episode of Super GG Radio. Before we go, you can find us on X, formerly Twitter, at Super GG Radio, and twitch.tv/Super GG Radio, where Thursdays, much like tonight, you can come hang out, watch us podcast. Or if you want, you can listen to us on the audio-only version, but then you won't be able to tell how many buttons I didn't use tonight. It's a lot of buttons. It's a lot. If you're watching this, you can see. I'm not sorry. Joel, will you be back this next week?
Lion King until further notice, I think. I did tell Kelly we'd dip back on that Escape Academy train and finish that out here. So I think by the time you're listening to this, we will probably have already streamed our last stream on that, because I think we're going to target this Saturday evening for that. And then
Okay.
Sunday, Monday, and or Tuesday, it starts.
It starts.
But will it finish?
I think I'm a good 5 or 10 swears away from getting to the finish of that game.
Ooh, okay. It can happen. We have content. We got content for days here. So you should jump on over to some of our stuff. So on our YouTube, we got a new beta breakdown for Witchfire. Hey, I was on that one. If you want to see how heartbreaking Witchfire is, not because it's bad, because it's hard, okay? You go check that out on our YouTube. And then we have reviews. We got reviews of Ghost Runner 2, and Alex has Summer Game Fest coverage. A bunch of games here.
Sure does.
Lots. Do I need to?
He's weirdly excited about Hello Kitty Island Adventure. That one,
Yes, he is.
That one took me by surprise.
He's
What
very
actually
excited.
surprises me about that one is the picture that is included of Agretzko. Because she is, while a Sanrio licensed character, is not what you think of when you think of Hello Kitty.
Not at all. But did not know that. Thank you for that, Alec.
Anytime.
All right. If you'd like to reach us with questions or input, our email address is mail@superggradio.com, and provide us a review on iTunes or the podcast app of your choice. Oh, wow, there's even more. Please check us out, our Patreon. Please check out our Patreon, where you can get monthly pictures of our dogs. We have dog pictures. You can get your name read off as an executive producer. We'll buy you free copies of Early Adopters.
I think I need to revisit those tiers on Patreon before we make any more promises.
And Alex is willing to play games with you.
He sure is.
Multiplayer madness.
And he'll play any game that you want. Just so long as you're there. Alright, thanks for listening, and good game, Joel.
Good game.
Good game, Alec.
GG.